Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee. This is Randy, and we are here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, and we are bringing you some adoptable animals that are in need of a second chance, a new home, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes people say that these dogs need to be rescued. They call it rescue. Technically, rescue would be, taken out of a burning house or brought in from a chain, being chained to a doghouse and living out in this kind of weather. So a lot of dogs come to us very well loved from people who can no longer care for them. Valko just noticed our bunnies. And so what they really need is, just like people in our lives, we live with our parents, then we go off for our first job, then we might get married, we might raise some children, we might then move to a retirement complex. Well, same thing for dogs. In different stages of their lives, they live with different people in different situations. So Valko is only a 1.5 years old, and he lived with, hi baby, he lived with other dogs and cats. And so he's young, like a puppy. And the noise that he's making, he's not choking. It's really the name of it. This is the silliest name, and it sounds made up. Reverse sneezing has to do with a dog trying to deal with their swallowing and their palate. And I'm not a vet, so I can't explain it completely. But that noise is common in beagles and hounds. And so what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with him, and Randy's not holding the leash too tight or anything like that. If you are interested in a big dog puppy, come in and talk to us, because we're going to let you know some of the work that you'll have to do to make a big dog puppy manageable. He is a puppy in his mind, and what that means is that he wants to jump on you and be with you and do exciting and fun things, roll in the snow and whatnot. But he's big. So when he does that, he could actually knock a person over or pull hard on the leash. And in this icy weather, you have to be careful about that, walking him. So his family gave him up because they had to move a place where bully breed dogs are not allowed. And Valko, if I didn't mention it, is American Pit Bull Terrier. We don't have papers for him, so we call him a mix. But he is a lovely, wonderful, friendly dog who was acquired on purpose and raised by a family who liked him a lot. They just weren't able to keep him when they moved. And a lot of times we hear people say, I can't imagine moving away from my dog. And of course you can't. That's great because your dog is part of your family. But there are also a lot of things that can happen in your life that you don't imagine, like changing jobs or moving in with family because of a financial crisis. And I'm glad that he barked, because one of the things about pit bulls that people often misinterpret is their bark often sounds like crying. Like they're very vocal, like a husky, and their bark can sound like words. So a lot of times when people hear that, they think they've been stepped on or injured in some way because of how it sounds. That. He does sound like a husky. So maybe you could teach him to say, I love you. I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTube videos, but dogs can be reinforced for making their howls sound a certain way. And they enjoy doing that when they're rewarded for it. So if you think a big puppy is in your future, please talk to us, because we'd like to tell you all the things you need to know. And if you think Valko in particular would make a good match for you or someone that you know, get in touch. We are back with Ellie, and Ellie is a 9-month-old female terrier mix. She might be mixed with some pug or something like that because she has an undershot jaw, but we don't know. She has a beautiful coat, and she's quite a lovely little dog. She is used to dogs, cats, and kids. Her family gave her up because it came time to spay her and do the things that you need to do for a puppy, and they realized that the financial burden was going to be a little bit much for them. One of the reasons that I'm showing Ellie on TV is because when she's in her cage, she goes to the back and lays on her little bed and doesn't really come to the front for strangers. But if you go in and get her, then this is what you see. So I think it's pretty important when you are looking at dogs in the shelter. Obviously, your first impression is going to be of them in their dog run. However, the first impression isn't always the complete story of what they have to offer. So it's very important, if you are interested in being with a dog and seeing if the dog is going to match your family, take them out. Have us take them outside, have us walk around with them, and you can see a lot more about them. She is, I really like I think the underbite is very cute. So I really like this little dog and think she's cute, but I have to admit some of that is based on her appearance, and that is one of the risks of coming to the shelter as well, is that you're going to select a dog based on based on their what they look like and what you think, whether you think that's cute or not. So because she is about 9 months old, she is probably 80% of her full size. So she's going to be a little girl, and she's got great experience since she was in a house with other dogs and kids, and knows all of those things. And also, you might not think it, but the experience at the shelter is also a benefit to her future, because it's another happening that she can incorporate into her skill set. So for example, if you adopt her and you wanted to drop her off at a kennel so that you could go on vacation, she's had this experience, she knows it works out well, and these are things that you don't always think about as positives, but slight stresses make you stronger. So she's had a great variety of happenings in a short life, which is going to make her a resilient and outgoing puppy. We are back with our next guest, Zelda. And I shouldn't have even said that name. We found this dog, so her name is probably something else. If you know anyone who is missing her, she was found near a horse farm, and it took a little bit of time to catch her because she was very leery of coming up to a stranger or a leash. But she has been a sweetie in the shelter. In fact, some people were in the shelter last night meeting her, and she cozied up to them like she just did to Randy. So she, I believe, oh, and she sits when you show her a treat. So she was someone's pet. She became stray, and was a little bit hard to catch because, of course, we're strangers. But what I suspect will be an issue for her is because we got her stray and she's hard to catch, she'll need to be trained very solidly to come to you when you call before you would trust her off leash, because she would probably be hard to gather up again, especially if you, let's say she took off from your yard and you asked your neighbors to help you catch her. She's not going to let that happen. But because of her affinity for people, I think it's going to be really easy to teach her to come to you, her adopter. She's going to be very excited to have her own person, and she's just the perfect size of dog. She is young, about 9 months old, so similar to Ellie, she's about 90% of how big she's going to be. A lot of people who see her say, "Oh my gosh, she's so thin." If you body condition score her, she's perfect for a 9-month-old unspayed female. This is exactly how a young teenager dog should look. We don't know that because young teenager dogs in our homes are really well fed, and they're usually spayed, so they put on a little bit of weight. But she is in great condition, and I will tell you the difference between a dog that is malnutritioned and a dog that is thin and fit is her coat. She has definitely had a good diet because her coat is thick and healthy and shiny, and so she has been eating nutritious food, if not in huge amounts. We don't know how long she was stray, so if she was stray for very long, then you would expect that she's either found a way to get her own food, maybe eating out of garbage or taking eggs or something like that, or she wasn't stray very long. So she's a very friendly, sweet dog, We tried to find her owner and couldn't, as you've often heard me say. 70% of our dogs that come in lost are reclaimed because people want their dogs back. But that leaves 3 out of every 7 that nobody comes to get, and we don't find a match for. So if you think that she would make a good match for you, or if the horse farm people that came in last night decide that they want her, then she will, I'm sure, fit right in and attach to her person pretty quickly. You can see she's leaning into Randy for more. She's not intimidated by the camera. So she's just a careful girl, and I think that's smart of her, especially given that she lived outside in all this bitter cold that we've had, and she did very well. She is pretty. You're a good girl.
Even the whiskers are gorgeous.
We are back with Blackie, and Blackie was on the show previously. And the reason we are bringing him back is because, well, number one, no one has chosen to adopt him. But number two, he's been working on a lot of training since he's been in the shelter, which you might not think we have time to do. But every time a volunteer or a staff member takes him out, he is learning how to behave for getting the leash on and off, how to come in and out of his kennel. When he is offered treats, he can sit if he wants to get them. And not jumping on people. There's a lot of things that happen just by osmosis from being handled by experts and handled often. So the dogs go out about 3 times a day by staff, and then volunteers come and offer them more exercise, especially in this weather. We have a play yard that they can go into. And also when people come in and ask to meet a dog, they're learning from that. They're learning that people don't like to be jumped on, that people's hands feel good. So Blackie has come a long way in his amount of time here, and he's about 2 years old, and he came to us the day after Christmas from someone who found him 2 months prior to that. So there was a dog lost that fits his description on the same street on which he was found at the time that he was found by this family. But they came in and looked at him and say, this is not their dog. It's a strange coincidence that a very identical looking dog is found in the same area and just doesn't belong to the people who are looking.
This is the way he acts most of the time. When it's just,
yes.
He just hops more or less.
So Randy is pointing out that this is how he acts. He's very people-oriented. In the house he stayed for 2 months, he was around kids. He was kept primarily outside because they found him and thought that they were going to be able to find his owner. So when it got cold, they brought him here, realizing that they work long hours and they wouldn't be able to keep him inside all the time while they're away. So, but how he behaves in his cage, you can see on cable 19, and he jumps from the floor to the as high as he can, and repeatedly. So sometimes when people walk by his kennel, they assume that he's a really hyper dog, and all the terrier in him is going to be overwhelming to deal with. But as you can see, he is high energy and friendly. But he likes people, and he will sit when you ask him to, and he's learned a lot about behaving on a leash. So in the month that he's been here, he's gained a lot of skills that'll make him even a better pet. And the people who found him and kept him for 2 months said he's great with kids, does chase cats that are outside, but he didn't hurt any. And of course, the problem that they had was not being able to bring him inside for long hours. And keeping him outside, he was trying to get out. So obviously he either wanted to go back home or wanted to be more a part of their lives. So they brought him here, and I think he's going to make someone a great pet. He's super smart. Cute, and Randy's saying he's really smart. So, and we've been working on his house training too. He came to us unhouse trained, and it doesn't take very long for a dog to learn not to go to the bathroom in the house. But you have to stay on top of it. Oh yes, and he's been neutered since he's been here, which helps a great deal. So if you are interested in a cute little dog like Blackie, or you want to change his name, he'll be fine with that. We made it up. Then come in and meet him. We are going to be back after a short break with more adoptable pets that might make a good match for you. And seriously, isn't he wonderful? So really should be given a second look, and I hope he gets chosen this week. If you are interested in cats, then we have the second segment coming. We're going to make you happy with that. Thanks for joining us for this half. Hope you stay with us after the break.
Join Frederick County Parks and Recreation for some hands-on cooking classes at the Ballinger Creek Community Building in Frederick, Maryland. Some of the classes offered include cooking with your kids in our parent and child programs, have a night with your significant other in our date night classes, learn cuisines from around the world, or learn some basic cooking techniques. For more information, visit us at recreator.com or call 301-600-2936. We'll see you in the kitchen.
Live with a human for a while and you get to know a few things. Like, I know she's actually not a morning person. I know she does strange tricks for no treats. I know that water makes her howl like crazy. I even know how the floor stays so clean. She's quick. But the one thing I will never for the life of me know is how she gets so tiny and inside that box. Natalie, how do you get so tiny?
We are back with more at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue. This is our first cat guest, Mr. Wiggles, and Mr. Wiggles is one of 2 kittens left in the shelter. Now, does that mean that we won't have kittens ever again? Unfortunately, no. In the spring, between April and October, I always say we get over 1,000 kittens, but most people's pet cats are spayed and neutered. What that means is the kittens that are born to cats that are loosely owned or actually live fully without the assistance of people. And that means that if they are born in the winter, which is not as common, that's nature's way, they don't survive. So we don't get very many kittens in the winter. And so we get kind of a break in our population between October and April. And what's good about that is that as long as we have tiny kittens in the building, the older cats get passed over. And not always. There are plenty of people who come in and say, I know I don't want a kitten, I'm taking an older cat. But if you are open to adopting a cat at all, you're definitely going to fall in love with the kittens. And if you're up to the challenge of supervising one, we want you to take a kitten because it's a lot of work and it's worth it. You probably can't tell how hard Randy is working right at this moment. But if he weren't, the kitten would be over here, on top of our cameraman, in the bunny cages, on the wall. And all of these things are fun when you have a kitten, but you have to supervise to make sure they don't get hurt. So if you are interested in Mr. Wiggles or our 1 brown tabby kitten that's left, come soon because that will be it for kittens until April. We actually do, I think, have 2 more in foster care. So if you come in the next couple of weeks, those will be the last kittens that we have available. And of course, once in a blue moon, someone returns a kitten. That's pretty unlikely, but it can happen. So don't give up completely. It's just that you're gonna find the bonanza of kittens sometime in April and May. So Mr. Wiggles is my favorite kind of cat, all black and boy. I just think they make really great family pets for kids and get along with dogs, especially when you start with a young one. But that is just my bias and some research that says that black male cats are the least likely to jump from the arms of a stranger. I don't know. But I always have one and I've always been very happy with their personality.
We have 27 experienced
Oh, right.
cats.
There
Yeah,
are,
apps.
yes, Randy wants you to know we have 27 experienced pet cats that do not have applications for adoption. So, as you all know, we euthanized about 150 more animals. It was 183 exactly. More animals this year than last year, but 60 of those were requested by owners who could not afford at the vet. So about 150 more this year than last year. We don't like that. We would like it to be lower every year. So for these cats that are waiting, and if you've been thinking about getting a cat, remember, they're spayed and neutered, microchipped, started on vaccinations, checked by a vet, litter trained. You just can't beat this deal. It's a great way to start with a new pet, getting one from the shelter. We are back with Oswald, and there's something very special about Oswald, and it's not that he's a male black cat, which is my favorite, although that doesn't hurt, and he has a little white spot under his chin, but Oswald has no tail, and he was born without a tail, It does not make him a purebred Manx cat, but the same genetic traits that are used to create the purebred Manx, which many are born without tails, is probably in Oswald's ancestry. And Oswald is about 1.5 years old. He came to us as a stray, and he's so good with people that we suspected someone was caring for him for some time. But we didn't find the person, and so Oswald needs a person of his own. He's pretty friendly and outgoing and likes being rubbed. I don't know if you can tell on the video because sometimes it's hard to film solid colored cats, but he has big cheeks. That comes from being an adult male cat that is not neutered, which we will take care of before he is adopted. Sometimes people worry about unneutered cats and spraying. And so I should explain the difference between spraying urine and not using the litter box. Two completely different behaviors. Spraying urine is a behavior of intact male cats where they put a few droplets of urine on vertical surfaces in hopes that they will be able to match up with some female cats. Once you neuter them, that behavior goes away. So male cats are no more likely than female cats, if they're neutered, to have litter box problems. Now, litter box problems, completely different. Litter box problems are usually associated with urinary tract health. Proper diet is very important, being aware of your cat's behavior, such that if they get a bladder infection, you're on top of that with the vet. But also, cats that are anxious or bullied at the litter box might avoid it. Cats that are not liking to use an unclean litter box might avoid it. So the two problems with litter box problems are knowing whether the cat's avoiding the box or purposely urinating outside of the box for some other reason. And those reasons include boundary wars, fears of the litter box, preferring a different substrate. So these are all things that you can talk to your veterinarian about, or even a cat behaviorist if it's a challenging problem for you and your cat. But when you adopt a cat from the animal shelter, we assure before they leave here that they are litter box trained, and the way that we do that is we give them a cardboard flat with wood pellets in it, a litter situation that cats do not prefer. So if they use that, they are litter box trained, and we will mark that on their paperwork. Now, if you see some of the cats that we have here in the shelter that have plastic litter boxes with clay litter, these are cats that while they used the wood flat with wood pellets, they don't like it. So we give them something more comfortable that they're going to be using at home. If a cat is relinquished to us by someone who tells us that the cat ever had litter box problems, we share it with you and we share the details and why we think that was. Many times it's because they were invited into a home with a dog as a stray and they didn't like the dog, or there's a cat already in the house that won't let them near the litter box. And I've done all of that talking about litter box behaviors because this kitty is not neutered, does not have litter box problems. He is very reliable, and since we're going to neuter him, he has not sprayed in the shelter. Why would he? He's not free to mark his territory. But that is something that you're not going to have to worry about. And Oswald is a great cat, outgoing and everything you would want, likes to be handled, but he wants to walk around in here. And as we have rabbits in this room, it's pretty tempting to walk around if you're a cat that's lived outside. Good kitty. Tippy is a domestic short hair, about 2 years old, and she's a spayed female. She's been here quite a while in the shelter, and part of that reason is that she has a sister, and we would like them to be adopted together. And of course, it takes us a while to find a home for an adult cat. It can take even longer when we're trying to find a home for 2 adult cats together. But it's not uncommon for people to want 2 cats and know that they're going to get along and enjoy each other's company, especially if you work long hours and you know that you want your cat not to be lonely. Sometimes it does not work to simply buy another cat. Cats have very strong feelings about who their roommate should be and how that roommate should be chosen. So with Tippy and her sister, you would have the added advantage of knowing that they choose each other's company, that they enjoy being together, and that's probably going to continue throughout their lifetime. So if you are interested in Tippy for herself, then please come and meet them both and see what you think. Her sister has been on the TV show before by herself, and the reason that these cats were given up is that a young child in the household developed allergies. Now, this could happen to anyone at any time, but usually if you grew up around pets, then you're not going to develop allergies to pets later in life. But when you have a new child in the household, you don't know. And oftentimes doctors do recommend that if a child is allergic and the symptoms are severe enough, that they could maintain better health if they were able to live someplace without the allergen. The problem is that allergies are usually an accumulation of several things. So you're allergic to cats and maybe milk and maybe some kinds of mold. So as many of those things as you can eliminate from your environment, it can really help you get your health back. So while it is sad to part with a pet, parents often make that tough decision just based on the advice that their doctor is giving them. You can get allergy shots, and I had 2 dogs that had allergies, and getting them allergy shots worked completely. They were both completely cured of their allergies by maturity. But if you have a child, you may not want to have them go to the doctor for injections frequently if you don't have to. So that's the decision this family made, and I'm sure their doctor supports it, as do we. But that means that Tippy and her sister are in need of a new home. Radar is a 10-month-old male black cat, and we color code the cats here for a little bit of help with choosing a cat. We color code them blue, orange, and green. Green cats are active, they can be shy, and a lot of kittens are green simply because they don't know anything. Orange cats are somewhere moderate about everything. But the blue cats like affection, they're easy to trim the nails of, and they tend to make a good choice for a first cat. And Radar is a blue cat, even though he's only 10 months old. So that makes him pretty special, and anyone would be lucky to get him. Of course, he is going to be neutered and started on vaccines and microchipped and all those good things before you take him home. And I think he's going to make someone a really lovely pet. So for all of the animals that you've seen here today, they have, you know, the variety of stories. Some were lost and not found by their families. Some were given up by people who were experiencing hardship. And they all need a second chance. They all need a family of their own, some place to go to start over and receive good care. And certainly in this harsh weather that we've been having this winter, provided adequate shelter inside your home. Radar is going to do very well with whoever takes him home. But if you have seen any special pet today that made an impression on you that you want to help out, there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, you can come in and meet them and adopt, or you could go to petfinder.com and find their profile and share that on your social networking site. You could print out their profile and post it somewhere new. There are a lot of people in Frederick who don't know where the shelter is, may not even know that we have a shelter, might not know that we have more than dogs, and even more than dogs and cats. So any way that you can help us get the word out is a big help. And finally, you could take the link at the bottom of this screen and share this entire episode of Pet Pals. If you are interested in one particular video segment, go to our Facebook page where Randy diligently clips the Pet Pals segments into pieces, so each pet has their own segment. You can find those on petfinder.com, and some of them go onto Facebook, and share them around, because that makes a big difference for us. So thanks for joining us today on Pet Pals. I hope that you have found out some new animal fact you didn't know, or seen an animal that moves you to help and share and maybe even adopt. We will see you next time on Pet Pals, and thanks for joining us.